Welcome into the Scorecard, presented by Encore Golf. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day. The PGA Tour continues to roll along Southern California Riviera this week. It's the Genesis Invitational, hosted by, that's right, Tiger Woods. We'll get to that momentarily, but I want to start this week on the Scorecard with the week that was last week. Phil Mickelson finishing third at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. You know, usually when a professional golfer gets to their late 40s, they're getting ready to kick it on over to PGA Tour champions. This usually starts about 46, 47, 48. You lose distance, your skill starts to erode. It's tough to keep up with those young guys week in and week out. Not Phil Mickelson. Phil, over the last 3 or 4 years, well, he's been preparing himself to play on the PGA Tour. Look at Phil, he's in the best shape of his life. He's slimmed down, he's supple, he's stronger, he's more explosive, and as a result, his club head speed, well, it's continued to climb late into his 40s. Check this out, 2017, 114 miles an hour with the driver. 2018, 116. 2019, 120 miles an hour. 2020 looks to be around 121 miles an hour. The distance, impressive stuff by Phil Mickelson, and I think it's really his first step of what appears to me to be a 5-step plan being put out there by Phil Mickelson to be competitive on the PGA Tour well into his 50s. And it starts with number one, bombing it. You gotta bomb it out there, and Phil is bombing it out there. He's 49 and currently 40th in driving distance on the PGA Tour. Number two, you gotta find it. Gotta bomb it. But you got to find it, Phil, right? You can't be hitting into the ocean, and you can't be hitting it 9 or 10 deep into the gallery. And Phil, well, at AT&T Pebble Beach, a place that he likes, he can hit it off to the left. He can spray it over there, and he can find it. The PGA Tour doesn't penalize, for the most part, with heavy rough when you spray it off the tee. There's going to be places he's going to struggle, but there's going to be plenty of places like Pebble Beach where he can find it. Number three, Phil's got to do enough with his approach game, right? I don't think his iron game is a strength like it used to be when we saw Phil Mickelson winning often. But I do think he's got to do enough. He's got to be better than average with the iron game. And I think currently right now, he's somewhere in the middle of the pack in strokes game approach. Number four, Phil's got to rely on a short game. He's got to be great with the short game, as he has been most of his career. He hit a couple weird shots on Sunday with the wedge, which cost him. But on Saturday, let me tell you something, the wedge game was ridiculous. Holing out from the bunker, holing out from the grass around the green. He's got to be great with his short game. And number five, he's got to wait for great putting weeks, right? I think Phil's putting has eroded some. Statistically, it hasn't been that good over the last couple years, but it was pretty good at Pebble Beach. Putts per green, first in the field, 1.578, and it helps when you're chipping in every other green. So he's got to be special with his wedges, and he's got to wait for great putting weeks. And I think it's a scenario that works on the PGA Tour, but it's predicated on the distance. And Phil Mickelson, let me tell you something, my hat's off to you for building your club head speed 120 miles an hour plus at the age of 49. All right, let's get right into it. Our head-to-head matchup this week at the Genesis Invitational. Up first, we got the new number one ranked player in the world, Rory McIlroy, versus the new number two ranked player in the world, Brooks Koepka. Allow me to take you back to last year when Brooks was the number one ranked player in the world. He had some things to say about Rory. One of them was, well, quote, "I've been out here for 5 years. Rory hasn't won a major since I've been on the PGA Tour." What are you thinking, Brooks? You don't disrespect one of the top ranked players in the game like that and don't expect a response. The difference with Rory, well, he didn't respond with his words. He kind of downplayed it, pushed to a side, but has since responded with great play on the golf course, winning the FedEx Cup, of course, last year, and now the new number one ranked player in the world. He plays well at Riviera, T4 last year. Give me Rory McIlroy over Brooks Koepka. What's next? Match number two, Dustin Johnson versus Tony Finau. I'm going to go with my heart on this one. I'm going to go with my heart. I see the stats. I see You know, both these guys so long off the tee, good iron players, short game, you know, up and down with the putter, so similar in so many ways. But the difference, the winning. I love you, Tony. I love you, man. Give me DJ. Up next, Jordan Spieth versus Justin Rose. First off, where in the hell has Justin Rose been? I feel like I haven't watched him play golf in literally 6 months. I think he was second at the Singapore Open or something, whatever that means, but who knows where Justin Rose is right now with his game. Jordan Spieth, we do know he's been rebuilding, trying to get back out there and make some cuts, and he did at Pebble Beach, and that cut was important because he got to Sunday and he shot a very impressive 67 in those conditions, chipped in on the final hole. It was good to see the smile come back. Had to feel great to finish T9. His short game looks really, really good. Iron game, strokes gain approach, 5th. Driver still not great, putter still not great, but a positive step for Jordan Spieth. Who knows where Justin Rose in this game? I'm going with Spieth in SoCal. We're seeing some pretty impressive stuff right now from Phil Mickelson in the way of club head speed. The way that he's been able to increase club head speed with the driver is really remarkable. He's up around the 120, 121 miles an hour club head speed. Very impressive at the age of 49. He's thinned down, he's supple, he looks stronger, more explosive, and it's transferring, right? More club head speed. He hits balls off a launch monitor to maximize launch and spin characteristics, so he's getting everything maxed out down the range. I think he's around 40th right now in driving distance on the PGA Tour. How has he done it? Well, I think first and foremost for Phil, when you look at him, he's always done a great job in his backswing. He's always been lengthened out in his backswing. He's turned his hips. We went through an era there where turn the upper but not the lower, right? I don't think that's the case anymore. If you're trying to do that, you probably need to quit doing that and turn your lower more like Phil. One of the things that I always like to look for is down the target line here, is to see some space in between the knees here, right? If I get my trail hip like Phil to work up and back out of the way this way, and I let my lead knee come across, I'll get some space in here. See that? Okay, so I'm letting the trail knee lose some flexion. So my hip can really work up and back. My lead knee can come across. My left heel can come up a little bit. I feel loaded into my trail side, but I also feel like I've turned my hips. That really allows the upper to turn better, lengthens out the swing. I've said it time and time again, I lengthen out more backswings than I shorten up. Phil's a great example of that. Now, coming down, Phil's been working on speed, not only with his body, but from a technique standpoint. I've heard him talk about really trying to go more vertical through the impact zone, the lead leg really pushing up off the ground. Phil's always had a little bit of a tendency to perhaps be a little soft in the lead leg through the impact zone. You see Phil now really pushing up off that leg and almost falling back, reestablishing pressure kind of back onto the trail foot to hit those high bombs. So he doesn't continue to move lateral and soft with the lower body like this, but rather get the weight left and then just kind of push up off of that, right? You can see really that vertical thrust, and you see him practice that a lot with some little swings. He'll just go. All right, I feel the push up. I feel the extension in the spine. I feel myself kind of falling back this way so I'm not soft on the lead leg. It's work. Vertical thrust off the ground, no different than kind of leaning forward with a lunge and then pushing up off the ground like that. Very similar. Let the weight go into the front foot and then push up off of it. Attack angle is going to go up. You can hit those high bombs like he does. So good stuff from Phil Mickelson, 49 years of age. The guy looks like he's preparing himself to play the PGA Tour in his 50s.